That was a good one. That was pretty good. Folks, I'm Rudy. Welcome, everybody, to me doing a flesh and blood update. Controversy. What's happening now? Who's angry? Who's upset? Who's quitting the game? Unacceptable. How on earth can I make my hair like James White's hair? The questions that the universe has never known answers to, that keeps us up at night as some poor, just being human. I just don't understand. Okay. So where are we at? Before we start talking about the new Super Slam Flesh and Blood set, let's go over the things you guys want me to talk about. First, do I think that somebody stealing and leaking the entire set of the new Flesh and Blood set to the market, is that going to have an impact on anything? My personal opinion, I don't think it impacts the product, the sell-through rate, the cards themselves, the playability. I don't think it changes the financial value of anything. Yes, it can cause individuals to have non-public information, and it can cause them to make, sell, or spec on cards, or sell before a reprint is announced. It can definitely cause something along those lines. But in this situation, where somebody yanked it and then just published it online, it's not really going to... I mean, there's always room for front running, but I don't really think it's going to be that big of a deal in this situation. This has happened many times in Pokemon's history. It's happened many times in Magic's history. These things happen. It's always very awkward and uncomfortable. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people feel violated. Some people don't care. I don't think the stolen early leak thing is going to have any real financial impact as far as how the product sells. I think the people who want the new Flesh and Blood set are going to buy the new Flesh and Blood set. The people who are just, hardcore organized play, competitive players, they're not going to buy boxes. They're going to buy the cards that they want, whether you tell them what those cards are a month or two early, or if they find out at release. I feel those people are going to buy the cards that they want for their set, or from the set, to add to their deck, to modify their competitive deck, to upgrade it, to make a new kind of style, to make some new near tier 1 super duper dude. I don't think it's really going to have a big variable in that conversation. Now, what I do think is going to happen is the real issue with Flesh and Blood continues with the tug of war. We talk about this, I don't make nearly enough videos on Flesh and Blood, and honestly, even One Piece and Whites, there's so many things going on. I just don't have the time, the work schedule, and the ability to discuss a lot of the things that I want to with you guys in all these different card games, including Flesh and Blood. I mean, I've been please, you guys have been begging me just to bring back box openings. And the thing with Flesh and Blood in particular that I continue to just listen to you all and find fascinating is the argument with the cost to play the game, the secondary market, the single cards. Why are all the competitive cards needed in the Majestic or Legendary or in the Fabled slot now? So it's a simple conversation, but the more we discuss this, it really breaks down to quite a bit. And this isn't even getting into the conversation about the sealed product, long-term Flesh and Blood sealed product, single cards, the way the market handles Flesh and Blood products, the direction of the company and the game, apparently according to the internet, the pretty crazy turmoil of people who've been left the company at the company level, at the high up level, around the owners and everything, the turnover and some people firing and quitting. There's been turmoil in that in 2025, and there continues to be the tug of war situation. Now, again, me being Rudy Florida Man, who talks to you guys about cardboard, I sell cardboard, and I make videos about cardboard. I don't personally have control, access, or the ability to really tell companies and get them to listen on how to manage and what to do with their games. But it's fascinating for me to watch this stuff unfold. Now, this is the new hot one now. I'd say, looking at the messages in the last week that I've been kind of taking notes here, I think right now the number one message I got in the feedback is, Rudy, the fabled card situation. How is the fabled slot in Flesh and Blood supposed to be handled? I don't understand it. I don't understand the direction of it. I don't understand why it exists. I don't understand why it's called fabled. I don't understand why if they put a card that's useless, that's not playable, everyone says it's hot trash and nobody cares about fabled. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting generic gems and generic cards that can be pitched and actually do pretty good things. So we're getting, it feels like to me, over the years, we are shifting to a situation, maybe LSS is testing if fables should be playable. Or maybe they should have some sort of power level thing. Because when I saw the fabled for this new Super Slam set, the generic, let's just call it what it is, the generic card that can be slotted in anything, is quite interesting. I always view generic cards in FaB the same way Magic does with artifacts. Artifacts are always colorless mana, and people can insert artifacts, or anything colorless for that matter, into any colored or any type of deck or any type of style, or any, because again, you're not limited to a certain color pie or a certain resource type or anything like that. So it does to me feel like, intentionally or not intentionally, I'm not sure, I'm not smart enough on game design, but it looks like, to me with Super Slam, more than the last few sets, and definitely more than the past, the Fabled actually seems quite playable. And just so you guys know, and again, you can Google it, I'm not going to really take the time to edit and do screenshots, and my life and schedule and things are very different. I don't do spoiler videos and crazy things. I don't have the ability to take 3-4 days to edit a video, put music over it, have other people write lyrics for songs, and I just, my life has gone a different direction. And I do miss it. I still watch some of those old ones, but it's just where I am. I would have never predicted a market that's this unbelievable in 2025. But anyways, when I look at the Fable of this set, and I say, wow, a Fable that you pitch for resources, but wait a minute, it also kind of like stunts your opponent's ability to play defense reaction cards? So it makes them harder to kind of push back on you? And it's generic and can be used in any deck? Huh. That seems a lot better than a lot of previous fabled cards from, I remember, the early days or older days of Flesh and Blood and Tales and the eras. And I don't recall seeing power levels like that in the Fable. To me, and again, folks, always remember, I am not a pro player. I know the basics to play Pokemon, Flesh and Blood, One Piece, Weiss. I know the basics of playing these games. I don't have the skill set, and I don't have the time. I don't have polished, tweaking, tier 1 powerful decks and strategies and very powerful. I'm not that smart. So I want to address the Fable thing. So now, what does this mean? How do we handle it? I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I just don't know. I spent the last few days before I made this Flesh and Blood video trying to think about what would I do if I was LSS? What would I do if I was trying to handle the Fable card situation? How would I handle it? And I'll be honest with you guys. I'll give you some Rudy thoughts, and I don't think you're going to like it. Well, if LSS continues to make more powerful, highly rare, desirable cards that are cold foil or rainbow foil in the Fabled slot, and they are that difficult to get, making them required for organized play because they're so good, it's best in slot, is going to be a problem. Especially with how limited the supply of sealed product is in the United States. Now, obviously, the print runs are not super low, but they are super low in the United States compared to the worldwide distribution of Flesh and Blood. The company is continuing to, not overprint, but a lot of the rest of the supply on how they're getting their revenue and distribution, it's going outside the United States. So for those of you confused about it, that's why this is happening. It's creating stability and preventing sealed product from crashing. And again, when's the last time you've heard anybody in stores getting nasty grams from LSS about map pricing? When's the last time there's been problems of box prices collapsing? We are, Hunted, High Seas, Rosetta. maybe 4 or 5 sets back since sealed product has really tanked or done anything. It's been a long time. So I understand why they're doing that. But as far as the fabled card situation, because the way I feel Flesh and Blood has made the secondary market and the type of people who are interested in the game, they've really created this environment where it almost feels like the United States, where it's like politics or something. Everything is polarized. Everything is everybody looking at each other from the other side of the room going, that's what it feels like with Flesh and Blood. The loud voices online with Flesh and Blood that are angry about some single cards in Majestic or Legendary, even Fabled now, that are going to not be under $10, $20, $30. Maybe there's, cards are now $50, $75, $100 a card that are playable. Maybe you need a playset, which again is 3, not 4. This isn't Magic. So maybe you need multiple copies of these. I mean, I don't think there's a solution to game design if you're trying to cater to both. I believe the only real path forward is you're going to have to cater to one or the other. Trying to cater to both has a higher risk probability of having both sides hate you. Does that make sense? And that's kind of where the game piece army and the Timmy versus, the business side of CCGs. Now, again, maybe in the future, maybe there should be products or things that are done with either Flesh and Blood or certain playable cards that are maybe more in the living card game, where it's not a randomized product. Maybe there should be other things. I don't have the answers to this. But the direction it's going with the continuous back and forth. I mean, I my own patrons, I see it. I have a ton of patrons that are they love Flesh and Blood. From day one, they bought every set. They're collecting the Rudy, the puzzle pieces and everything right now. They're doing the puzzle piece thing and the gem keeper thing. Wait, are they in order? Which one do I have? Wait, yeah. And, there's a lot, which is great. And a lot of people just absolutely love it, okay? And you have a lot of other people that I sell it to that tell me, like, Rudy, hey, love your videos. I love learning about the way the world is and everything and finance and cards. But, I just, Flesh and Blood is game pieces. And it's a competitive game with organized play, the best organized play, competitive circuit and market in the system in the world. And the cards need to all be under $10. And that's just my opinion. And I respond with, I respect your opinion. And, I appreciate that. But from a business standpoint, the issue is whether you're right or wrong is indifferent when it comes to business and money and overhead and making the company successful and growing and the cost to design, manufacture, distribute, and do R&D. It's very expensive. And it's very difficult to have both of those things to go. So, okay, enough of that. Back to the Super Slam thing. So, the Fabled situation seems to be a very hot button thing this time around. No, it's not Command and Conquer being reprinted again. It's this time around, the playability of the most difficult card to get in the set is making, the textbook people post online of, I'm going to quit this game. I can't afford it. I'm just, why am I going to play a deck where I need a card that I can't obtain? Well, Rudy, if you're confirming what the other stores around me have told me, which is supply of these sealed products in the U.S. is pretty much a one-wave limited thing it's done, how in, a Fabled card is 1 in every 30 or 50 or whatever it is now, I don't know, 30 to 60 boxes, let's say. How on earth are there supposed to be enough of a playable card if even the United States market has an equal 100,000 boxes and there's 1 in every 30, 60 boxes? The math gets a little scary if you want that to be a competitive, playable staple. So that is the mindset that people have pitched to me. And it's an interesting one because there's truth to it where you can't make a playable component. It's like a piece of an engine bay in a vehicle. If there's a certain required item, you need a starter to start the engine. You need a fuel pump to get the gas injected through the injectors, through the fuel filter, and into the actual engine so that the spark can blow it up. If you are missing a component, it's not going to function properly. It may run, but it's going to be pretty rough, right? The vehicle may go down the road, but it may be pretty rough sounding, right? So, I mean, I guess what was interesting is I had a patron send me a message yesterday and said, Rudy, what I think LSS should get rid of the entire fabled slot. Super Slam is the exact moment that makes me believe that there should not be a fabled slot in Flesh and Blood. And I was like, whoa, that's a spicy taco. That's a giant waffle fry. That's a serious hot take there. But then I stopped and I was like, so I guess you would just downgrade. The rarest slot would be some sort of Marvel or Legendary instead of Fabled. The Legendary would be the top slot. And then you would just add like another Legendary to the pool? Or do you just take the Fabled and do what they do with Marvels? Maybe just... But see, it gets... I'm not a game designer, folks. Because me, originally, I don't like the idea of just, well, it's expensive, so get rid of it. I mean, why can't the Fabled card just be a majestic slot with a regular card, but then the cold foil or the full art or the alt art or whatever it is just be the Fabled variant? Kind of like a Marvel, Take a regular card that's a couple bucks and just have a Marvel two-sided extended art, alternate art, and just make a variant, right? So I don't know. I do feel like something's eventually going to have to give with that. I don't see the path of the internet, because the internet, and again, not the majority, but even the minority or the majority, I guess it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make the loud squeaky wheel on the internet is going to continue to be loud and squeaky, and that's what the company's probably going to listen to. So I do feel like if this does become a bigger thing, and some of you guys think it's already a big deal with this Fabled and Super Slam, if this is this big of a deal after the release of Super Slam, and truly is, this Fabled becomes some combo powerhouse thing, well, I have a feeling then, yeah, there could be some shifts in future game design or set design with LSS because they don't want it to happen again, or they don't like how the market reacted to it. I don't know about just completely deleting something because of the fact that there's an issue with it. I don't know if just deleting and erasing or I don't know if that's the correct way to fix things. I'm not sure about that. So I want to leave that alone, but that's just my opinion on it is there is a path forward, but I don't think getting rid of the Fabled slot or making the Fabled a complete unplayable thing, I don't think is the correct path. I like the idea of what Magic, what Pokemon, hell, Weiss does it. In Weiss, literally the single rares, double rares, uncommons, and commons are pennies. And then you get an SR or an SP variant with a gold signature, a full art, or a different art, and the $2 card is $2,000. I guess maybe $10,000 if it has boobs on it, or hot chick, right? Something like that in Weiss, So I think there's ways to make variants work. I do think there's a path. I do. All right, so moving on to the next thing. Rudy, how do you feel about the sets of Super Slam so far? I view Super Slam as almost like a wrestling set. When I first saw the pictures of it, when I first saw the box art, when I first saw the name of it, and I saw kind of the pre-press release thing that was about to drop, I thought it looked like another sequel to a Welcome to Wraith or a Heavy Hitters. It looked like a Melee Mortal Kombat type of Street Fighter release set to me. So when I first saw that, I actually thought Super Slam looked pretty fucking cool. Because I even saw there were some cards that have the name of the character, like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. It had the name, and it had the character behind almost. I thought that was fine. I thought it fits the narrative, and it fits the theme, and I thought it's a fun, playful direction to go. Now, if I don't say anything about this, you guys are going to blow me the hell up in the emails and Patreon messaging it. Rudy, so I'm going to address it. I'm going to read it and I'm going to address it. Rudy, I know how you like the melee, the hand-to-hand combat. Will you please comment on the art direction in the feel of the art and the cartoony version of the art, and why the art feels more animated or teenage Minecraft animation type of... Okay. I have noticed that. Not all the cards, But if you do look at older sets, or hell, I guess you just go back to the Hunted. You go back 2 sets. Or maybe even Misty. Maybe part the Misty. Or I guess even Rosetta with the beauty and everything, kind of the Tales of Aria. The art in this particular set does feel different to me. I don't know if that's intentional. I'm not sure if that's deliberate. I'm not sure if it's just the theme of the set. I am not going to make the conclusion that the art style is softening from the more gritty, bloody, the Hunted, Welcome to Wraith, heavy hitters, kind of the more... I'm not going to make that assumption based on a single set. But the public is correct, and when you all are asking me, does the art seem a little different? Yes, the vibe in the anime, I don't want to say anime, but the animated more, it doesn't have a detailed, gritty-ish feel. The color palette feels a little different on Super Slam. Is that a big deal? I'm not sure, because I don't have enough evidence and we haven't gone enough sets to see if something has shifted or it's just the theme, lore, and style of this particular release. Because Pokemon, Magic, One Piece, wise, every set in CCG history has had themes and styles. Magic has done some things that were absolutely just dumb. Like, what is this? How does this fit? Pokemon has done it. There's Pokemon sets and art styles in the past that people just it's out of favor. People don't like, And I'm not sure. And the reason I'm responding to this question from you all is the follow-up question to that is, do you think Flesh and Blood is trying to soften their public view from the name of Flesh and Blood and to appeal to a bigger demographic of people? Now that is something that's possible. One of the things that Flesh and Blood has always had a leash stuck to its side is the name of the card game being Flesh and Blood. When you ship products that have that written on the package, it prevents even the product from being sold in I feel like a Walmart or a Target. They're not going to stock something that's called Flesh and Blood in the United States based on modern culture standards and sensitivity and how stupid the world is. Do I agree with that? No. But do I think that's how it's going to be viewed? Yes. So I do believe that the name has probably caused some roadblocks in promotions, crossovers, and different things from Flesh and Blood into the United States. So to make a little bit further idea with you guys, Pokemon does these crossovers with fast food, Burger King, McDonald's. They put their name on everything. Magic the Gathering, puts their name on things. Magic is going in this direction with universes beyond our budgets, and with Marvel and Spider-Man, with Squaresoft. Is it still Squaresoft or Square Enix now? It's always Squaresoft to me. With the Final Fantasy and all these different brands they're crossing over, and of course Doctor Who, the Fallout, and the Warhammer situation, Assassin's Creed, and of course moving forward with Avatar and different things. Magic has that brand friendly. The YouTube term when I started YouTube 10 years ago, I gotta say it, was advertiser friendly. And it does seem like Magic and Pokemon have really mastered the art of these crossovers to help the brand expand. That's something that Flesh and Blood, I don't know if there's a path for them to do that in the United States based on the name alone. I'm not saying the company has to change their name or anything, but I mean, that has always been a thing that's always I've always felt it's held them back on a few categories. But it is what it is. So when you guys are commenting, is the art style changing to get a bigger demographic of customers and a larger, a wider net to grab customers? I'll be honest with you guys. I hope that's not true. And I know that comes a little weird, but the wider you make the net and the wider you make the appeal of the art, and the wider you try to, include everybody, the higher the probability that you're going to start having issues. Life in real business, at least especially in the United States, in this crazy world we live in, does not always work that way. There's always going to be a lot of people out there who dislike me, that will always constantly, anything they can, they're going to post anything online to try to get Rudy taken down or banned or angry or anything. And, I'm very thankful that the size of the business and my audience and the amount of you guys is amazing, but there's always going to be a very small minority of people who are just going to be negative, angry people. And they are going to do anything they can to not like or dislike or to be against things. And this applies to not just individuals or content creators or the political news out there and the bad things that happen, but it also applies to companies around the world too. I'm hoping that Flesh and Blood is not going to do a shift on the feel and the style of their cards. I feel the risk level would be higher than the potential reward. The potential reward is bringing in new player base and new people to your game. The giant risk is all the enfranchised people that are into this deep franchise. If you push even a percentage of them away, a lot of those people are very heavy spenders. And I'm very skeptical that even bringing in new people that are targeting to that style are going to have the spend rate and the loyalty that these people are going to have over here. Like they say in business, one of the smartest things that some people taught me years ago in business, in the restaurant world, and when I worked on cars and I became the head oil change guy, and I went from $10 to $12 an hour. One of the things I learned was it's okay to fire your customers, and it's okay to not appeal to everybody. It's okay to disagree and just not target a certain type of customer base. And it's actually, you probably will be more successful if you just focus on the people and you that you connect with the most. And that always stuck with me, and I feel Flesh and Blood is on that same path. I hope, and I want to say to you all out there, I hope these conspiracy theories about the art direction the company is going to pivot hard into more animated, softer art, I don't think they're going to. I see how the new set has art that feels different on certain cards. Not every card, but some of them have a softer, cartoony-ish, more, non-detailed vibe. More exaggerated kind of vibe. A softer vibe. I'm not good with the literature and synonyms in English. I'm a finance guy. But I don't think they're going to do a major thing. Maybe they're testing it on this set. Or maybe it just fits the theme. It's just kind of the vibe of the set. So I'm not going to get into that kind of crazy vibe, but I want to at least respond, because I know if I don't, everyone, I'm going to get a lot of messages from you guys asking why I didn't discuss the art thing of Super Slam. So, sorry, this ends up being a way longer video than I thought, but I haven't been able to do a Flesh and Blood video in a while. So, moving forward here, like I said, I'm about to sell we don't have as many, so instead of 1,100 patron kits, I think we have around 800 patron kits, so it is lower. So according to you guys, yes, the supply remains very strict. Flesh and Blood and their rules, they again, it is to be respected. They are maintaining their discipline on the quantity and supply. There's no, I can't get extra. I even asked if I could go even get my 1,100 patron bundles and kits and cases, and they just said no, we don't have it. It's just not going to happen. So yes, to remind you all, that remains the supply, availability, the print run is something that the company is taking very seriously. And I hope you guys out there understand that is, I think one of the reasons why you don't see any boxes. I mean, again, and just let me pause right there and let me go back to commenting on the sealed product. Okay? Again, the original stuff, the Whack era, Welcome to Wraith, Art Crew, the original low-printed, high-end, King Dingling of stuff, as long as Flesh and Blood continues to do well and has long-term success, that is the King Dingling beginnings that is the gold standard there, in my opinion. Now, obviously, the Monarch Tales Everfest, that was the explosion, the COVID era, the print runs went up. It's a very distorted, and when there was a lot of people involved, a lot of things happened, some good people, some bad, and of course, that era still has cheap prices. I'm not sure if those prices are ever going to go up or change, but again, if you really want to play Flesh and Blood or kind of even experience or kind of experiment with it, you can buy incredible, beautiful cards that are insanely cheap from years ago in 2020 era and 2021. No one's arguing that. Now, when you go into the FaB 2.0, when the company decided to change the whole direction of the game, yes, the uprising into the Dynasty and the Outsiders and the Bright Lights and all these things moving forward, Dusk Till Dawn. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing a few. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those were still, the public believes, and some of them I think could still be severely overprinted and some may not be anymore. They've adjusted. The company saw that. We went through a bear market, and now things are, and that's how this stuff is. The markets and the cycles and the people and the print runs, everything is an ebb and flow. And the success of the ability of a company or a brand to survive is evolving and adjusting based on market conditions and demand and just pretty much the secondary market and how your game is being, reflected by the public. So I'm not going to comment much on the new stuff because people are like, well, Rudy, my Rosetta and the Hunted boxes, they haven't skyrocketed or doubled or tripled in price. Bro, you're talking about boxes that are like a year old. Like, what did you think was going to happen? I don't care if you bought the box at 100, 120, 150. I don't care if you bought the box at 200 and you were the highest person to pay it on the open market on TCG Player. Like, these, again, you're not, from a sealed product standpoint, Flesh and Blood sealed product is a very different beast. It is not Pokemon. It is not a Magic Collector box. It is a very different animal. It does not behave the same way. It does not just go out of print like Pokemon and go straight up. Okay? Flesh and Blood is a hardcore player, competitive, driven, organized play game. If I had to rank every card game in existence right now, including Magic and around the world, in my opinion, the number one most serious competitive card game by far is Flesh and Blood. It is the people who go to these events and do organized play and tournaments, and they go from their local stores and battle hardens and small events to bigger events to regional to I don't know, a world tour, pro tour, main thing or anything. I mean, the people who do that, these people, male and female, young and old, these people are serious about it. They love their game, they play test, they tweak every new card and new set, they're modifying decks, and it's a big deal, okay? So, based on that principle alone, no, Flesh and Blood, you cannot buy the new Super Slam from Rudy and get some really cool cold foil puzzle pieces, which, by the way, I'm about to release some really cool information in the next few weeks, finally. Actually, probably the next 2 weeks, right after release. I got some really cool, we are revealing the treasure map, the exchange rate system, and all the puzzle piece stuff will be revealed. I think we're 2 weeks away now. We're right after this release in the Spider-Man. We get through this, right? When we hit October. It's gonna be super fun. I've been waiting forever. I've been working on this shit for like a year. So, anyways, so no, the Flesh and Blood sealed boxes and prices are not gonna move the same way. Now, I'm also not gonna sit here and tell you all you should buy every Flesh and Blood thing and then just sit on it for 100 years. You'll be a billionaire in a private jet with 20 chicks in a yacht. At the same time, this is the type of product that is a very unpredictable future with sealed product. We have seen sealed products of random Flesh and Blood sets out of nowhere just completely double, come back down, triple, even FaB 2.0 newer stuff. Like, look what happened to Dynasty. I wish I had some. I don't have any. Patrons bought it all at release. I don't know what I sold them for, $100 a box? I don't remember. So a couple years ago when Dynasty came out, then it skyrocketed to $200 to $300 a box. And nobody has it. It's out of print. It's long gone. And of course, look at the chase cards in the set. Seriously, look at the chase cards in Dynasty. And you'll be like, wow, how is that box $100? Really? Really? And, you look at this stuff and then you kind of go, okay. But it shows how something can stay flat or slightly uptick. But these things can change out of nowhere. Some Flesh and Blood sets will perform very well in the future. Some will remain flat. That is the market for Flesh and Blood sealed. It is different, but it's very volatile. And again, these spikes in price can be more extreme, but then the nobody cares and it stays flat can be more extreme for a while too. So I wanted to address that before we finish this video here. So conclusion, I'm about to launch and do my Super Slam sale. Again, apologize, we have a little bit less supply this time. It will include the cold foil Rudy puzzle pieces for free in the kit. I don't know what the price is. I think this kit's pretty. Like a whole case of Super Slam should be pretty. I don't think it's expensive. Like $4.50s? Is it $4.50 for a case? I'll throw in some like cold foil puzzle pieces for free for you guys to really help out. Yeah, anyways, it'll be great opportunity for you guys if you want to check it out. But past that, it's going to sell out. There's like the last 4 sets. There's no wave 2. It is what it is, folks. So if you are interested coming up here, I will be selling my position to you guys and let you guys have fun. If you want to open it, cracks packs, draft, have fun. You want to flip it, you want to sell it on eBay. You want to make money off it. I don't care what you want to do. But yeah, I'll be doing ours, and still would like to do some box openings, and I'd like to return to that. So I apologize for everybody out there on the lack of box openings on any card game. And that's it. I think conclusion of this video, it's important to understand what Flesh and Blood has going for it, and it's important to understand, you guys, the problems they're still battling between the the playable cards versus collectability, print runs, different parts of the country, the organized play. They are still navigating this stuff. Again, we just crossed 5 years with Flesh and Blood, and people didn't think it would make it past the first year. And Flesh and Blood continues to do very well and move forward. And one thing I can tell you is the player base is doing very well. Around the world, the total net players and people in Flesh and Blood is growing. And past that, as long as you can have a healthy game that grows in a market that has a good, healthy secondary market that does have growth, it should take care of itself long term. So that is the Rudy speech. It's supposed to be a 5-minute video. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to LSS and James and Flesh and Blood for letting me be a part of it since the beginning. And I hope you all have a beautiful day out there.